Amy Yates is excused. Courtney Lindsay? He is absent. So before proceeding, and in order to maintain this hybrid public meeting approach, I am going to ask for a motion to designate myself as the presiding officer for the meeting. We will have to do this for every meeting moving forward. That way, our office can be the public meeting area. So if anyone from the public wishes to attend, they can come here where I'm seated. So at this point, I would like to request a motion to designate me as the presiding officer for today's meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Oh, second, Nikki.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Great. So for today's agenda, we are going to, we sent you the minutes for the February and April meetings. So we'll ask for your approval of those. I'll give you the financial update. I believe the project grant, it was Kathleen O'Reilly will be updating us. Then we'll have public comments and adjournment. So with that, let's go to the next slide and look at the income statement. Oh, first I need to, can you go back? I'm sorry, Melanie. I did not. Did y'all review the minutes from the past two meetings, and did you have any edits, or can we get a motion to approve the minutes? If you need more time, we could put it for the next meeting.
I mean, I'm okay. I move to approve them.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. Thank you. Now we can go to the income slide. Apologies. Okay, so on the income statement, so this is just up until April. We don't have May and June numbers in here. We'll have that for you at the next meeting, and we'll also have the final reconciliation of the share that will go to the PBD for this current fiscal year, which is going to end on June 30th. June 30th is the last day. So based on the meter revenue and permit revenue for July 1st of last year until April 30th of this year, we are projecting a $70,411 share that would go to the parking benefit district. So the overall revenue was $117,000. The 60% split, which goes to Museum Park, is about $70,500 is what we're projecting. Now, bear in mind, we still have May and June numbers to add into here, so there may be a little fluctuation. Per the interlocal agreement with the management district, we reconcile at the end of our fiscal year. So in July, we'll spend the first few weeks completing the reconciliation, counting the actual cash in hand, and we will be issuing a check to the Greater Southeast Management District for PBD projects before July 30th. It should be around $70,000. I think we're pretty close to that mark. Does anyone have any questions? All right, let's go to the next slide, which is the projects. So on your project list, we had an Arbor Care project for which the committee approved about $25,000 in spending. That was approved in May. The project balance on that right now is $4,400. So about $20,000 worth of work has been completed on the Arbor Care project. Some of that was paid in June of 23, and then the balance was paid out in July and August of 23. So that was what was expended. There was another allocation approved in April of 24 for additional Arbor Care in the amount of $11,450, and to my knowledge, there has been nothing paid out on that. So the balance on that project remains at $11,450. So right now, at the start of the fiscal year, our fiscal year last year, July 1st of 23, the Museum Park Parking Benefit District, had $78,240 banked. We had $20,935 in Arbor Care expenditures that were approved last year in 23. And then we have encumbrances of $15,850. So that's the $4,400 that's left over from the first Arbor Care project. And I believe that this was part of that GIS mapping that we decided to strike from it. I'm not sure if there's work left here. If there is no work left on that original proposal, that $4,400 can just go back into the fund balance. We will tighten all that up in July. And then the other, of course, encumbrance is that $11,450, which y'all voted on in April to approve some additional arbor care. So that leaves at this moment $41,455 in the Museum Park Parking Benefit District Fund. With the reconciliation that will take place in July and the transfer of revenues generated this past fiscal year, we anticipate sending over about $70,411. So July 1st, we anticipate a balance of $111,866 in the Museum Park Parking Benefit District Fund. Do I have any questions? Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and to my knowledge, that $4,400 effort is no longer
Okay,
a task, correct, Nikki?
Correct.
okay.
And
So
then,
we will add. Yeah.
okay, but has the management district, Nikki, you haven't been billed for that 11,400?
No, we've not been billed for it.
Okay. That's it for me.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? All right, we'll confirm that 4,400 will come back to the fund balance. I'm sorry, Nikki, you were talking?
Yeah, no questions, but a comment. So I know early on with the parking benefit district, we were asking about funds being held in an interest-bearing account. And the funds were put into text pool, which is a pool account. And I requested a report of any interest that
Okay.
was off of these funds, just so we'll
Perfect.
kind of know what that looks like and how they can be, how those funds should be used or reallocated to support the projects in Museum Park. So hopefully the next week or so, I'll have an update on that.
Excellent. Thank you,
Thank
Nikki.
you, Nikki. That's great. We will
Thank-
add that
Thank you,
information.
Nikki.
to
That's
the-
great.
Yeah,
No problem. And then the other item that you kind of spoke about earlier, maybe we can take that in the next section. Just let
Yeah.
me know regarding the
Yes.
capital thing.
yes, yes.
You want me to take it now or take it to the?
I will
next
take it at the public comments
Okay, sure.
in the end, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, if there's no further questions, let's go to the next slide where we'll give you the meter and citation update. So again, this one only goes up till April. And in the month of April, we did about $52,000 in meter revenue. And typically what we see in the parking benefit, we have a threshold where the meters have to generate at least, I believe it's $524,000. And anything in excess of that is then shared with the PBD. And typically we hit that point around April or May. So I think we hit it in April, but April was $52,000 in meter and permit revenue. We had about 16,000, almost 17,000 meter transactions actually. And the average transaction was about $3.34. And we had 64 expired meter citations in the neighborhood. For our next meeting, we will have May, June, and give you like a complete picture of the entire fiscal year. Do I have any questions here?
Nope.
Thank you. Let's go to the next one. And I think it's project proposals. So I know Kathleen, you wanted to talk about a grant. And then I think after that, we can discuss the capital projects with Greater Southeast Management District, if that works for everyone.
Perfect.
Okay.
The Department of Neighborhoods has another grant opportunity, and the intent to apply is due August 31st. And in that intent to apply, it's not much. It's as I understand it, it's $5,000 total. $2,500 comes from us, $2,500 from the city. And we've asked the management district to also contribute a $2,500. So maybe we'll have a total of $7,500. But what we have to do is define the project with that intent to apply. So what I'm wondering is if we should have an ad hoc committee meeting to define where we want to go for fiscal year 24 and where this grant, if it's something that we do want to apply for, and where we want to use it, and where does it fit in the overall scheme of fund use, if that makes sense. And the ideas that we've talked about and I think are worth pursuing are more arbor care. I think that is showing its worth already. The trees look fabulous and they're so much healthier. Doing work on the esplanades, actually the soil with, doing the same approach that the park used and seeding daikon radishes this fall. And so that would take seeding, watering, and then mowing in order to prevent spreading of daikon radishes everywhere. And then also the sidewalks. So what we need to do is put together costs for those. And I actually don't have any idea where to go to have a sidewalk survey done to what do we actually need to have done and who does that work and make sure that the sidewalks are in ADA compliance. So those were my thoughts on that. So what we need to do today, what I'd like to do is, I guess it's permission to apply for this grant with the understanding that maybe a committee could meet in July and define what opportunities we want to pursue and where it fits in the overall scheme, and then how to pursue them. So are there any questions on that?
So this grant is to receive $2,500 from the Department of Neighborhoods, and then the PBD has to match 2,500, and then the super neighborhood may perhaps match another 2,500. Is that correct?
No, Houston Southeast.
Oh, Houston Southeast. So for a total of about $7,500.
Right. Right.
And in the past, have we ever applied for this type of grant from Department of Neighborhoods?
Yeah, the work that we've done, additional arbor care, we just completed. We've had about 3 of these grants, and we just completed the most recent one, which was also, it was $7,000 for arbor care, and that was a complete funding by the Department of Neighborhoods. And Bartlett just completed that effort at the end of May, and we already submitted the report on that.
And who submitted those grant applications if we've done 2 or 3 already?
I did, because they're super neighborhood grants.
Okay.
So the super neighborhood submitted those, and we would probably have to submit this one as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with supporting this project. I think what are you asking the committee to help decide how that money is spent?
Well,
or are you just asking the committee for approval to match the grant?
No, I think the committee needs to decide how that money would be used, and in order to apply, we need to define. So if the super neighborhood wants to, if we want to apply, we've got to define a project, right? And the match, I am hoping, would come from the parking benefit district, the $2,500.
So has the super neighbor, oh, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Has the super neighborhood defined what they would like to gain from the grant, or what projects they would want?
Well, again, I think they're in alignment with the livable center study and the Caroline Promenade. So do we continue with tree work? Do we do sidewalks, or do we do esplanade rejuvenation? And I think the committee, we need an ad hoc committee put together to define, okay, where will we use this particular grant in lieu of an overall strategic plan.
But I guess for this group, I mean, don't we need to just say we have a meeting with a super neighborhood or a subcommittee of the super neighborhood to say what is that project? And then we would technically ask here the parking benefit district to be the the grant matcher, for that, but the project would technically come from a recommendation from the super neighborhood, right?
Right.
Right, but I think this committee needs to make this, if people are willing, if I could get Kyle, maybe Russ and Amy, so we could meet ad hoc and define how we want this all to work together. And then, but I don't want to move forward with even applying for an intent to apply unless we are all in agreement on how would we use this money and that we would have a match from the parking benefit district. So that's what we're asking today is, do we have a commitment to match this grant? And then in July and August, or July, we need to define how we would use the money and then present that to the PBD. The details, the specifics.
I mean, I don't have any issue with us, parking benefit district being the match of the grant, but like I said, I think we need to still have this other committee to define what that is, but I think that's, since it's allowable, I think it would be good if we use this money to be a matching part of the grant for a project that targets a neighborhood.
Thank you, Russ. Maria, can we vote on that, or do we need to vote on that?
What do you want to vote on?
A commitment to match this grant.
Okay, so we can, I agree with Russ. I think the super neighborhood should propose the projects and this advisory committee just decides if they want to fund it or not. I think if y'all meet ad hoc, you have to bear in mind open meetings. If there's 3 of you, that's a quorum. So I want you to be careful about that. But yes, you can absolutely make a motion to allocate an amount of funding in support of the Department of Neighborhood's grant application to be submitted by the super neighborhood. And if you want to have a caveat for, that the advisory committee supports the projects, then you can add that as well. And I think Nikki has a comment.
Mm-hmm.
Nikki?
Kathleen, do you think it would be advantageous to have a joint meeting of the super neighborhood, the parking benefit district and the management district to discuss projects within the park? Because
yeah, that's
what
go ahead.
is make sure that as we approach these asks from the management district, that we do have an actual plan to implement items from the Livable Center study and the promenade work. I just want to make sure that we have a focused effort as we move forward, because we can continue to piece certain projects together, but we got to look comprehensively because we still have, on another vein, work happening or supposed to happen with the city with traffic calming. So I'd like to kind of look at this holistically so that we can plan, right, how we should go after dollars and also implement projects as a collective effort.
Totally agree, Nikki. Totally agree. It needs to be strategic and holistic and following and that's why I say we want to figure out how this fits in the overall picture of things that we want to do and what percentage of this funding should go to what effort.
Right.
Totally
So
agree.
I can't remember, when is this grant due? I can't remember what it says.
August 1st is the letter of the intent to apply, correct?
Right. And the project has to be defined at that point.
I'm sorry,
Right.
You said August 31st? Was that what it?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, so don't we have time to have another outside discussion and we can still come back to this group and say, okay, parking benefit can be the match once we kind of have it defined a little bit more?
I'd
Well,
rather
I think-
not do that, Russ. I'd rather go ahead and approve the opportunity pending the definition of the project. I mean, I don't want to go to the effort of a grant application if I don't have a matching guarantee.
So
Frankly.
I don't mind the motion on today. What I'm saying is, I think because we do have to post these meetings, I think it wise that if we approve the match today, that in the very near future, the next couple of weeks or so, we have another meeting that is posted because it's public, where we work through and workshop some of the ideas and the implementation strategies specifically for Museum Park. Because as we go into budget season, I want to make sure that we don't miss any opportunities to make sure certain dollars are allocated on our side.
Totally agree, Nikki. Totally agree. So, that being said, would you like to send out a notice for, or meeting opportunity dates? And we could
I
meet
will.
at the
Once
Clayton,
we
I don't know,
finish,
meet at the Clayton someplace?
well, depending on what approved meeting places, we can meet as far as the parking benefit district. I'd get with Maria and Melanie and identify that because we may have to meet at a city site. I'm not sure. But
Well, that's why I mentioned the Clayton Carriage House. It's a good meeting spot.
understood. I'm not opposed
But-
to any of it to know what our parameters are.
I
So,
guess, my question though is, I mean, most of us that are on here are either, you know, Nikki, you're from the Southeast Management District, but the others of us that represent the Museum Park neighborhood are also on the super neighborhood. So it really could be a side meeting between the super neighborhood and the management district to say, what's the overall picture of all these projects we want to do, whether it be however they're funded, to kind of know, here's like the kind of short-term plan of all these projects. And then it could be a separate meeting that we say, the parking benefit district says, okay, we want to technically fund a lot of these projects that are on this bigger list of things for the whole neighborhood. Since there's multiple pots of money we're talking about for some of these things. It's not all parking benefit funds.
Understood. I think that, well, I mean, there is much overlap. So either way, it's fine with
Yeah.
me. I just would like for us to have a focused effort to be in concert with our projects.
totally agree, Nikki. So could you
Yeah,
send out a
same here.
couple of meeting date opportunities?
Sure.
And maybe, I don't know, is everybody in town in mid-July?
Yes.
Okay, great. And maybe we could meet in mid-July, because like I said, the deadline for submittal is August 31st, and I think that we can make a lot of progress in a couple of hours or an hour to define what we want to do, not only with the super neighborhood, but more with the parking benefit district, and how we want to allocate those, how we think it's most effective to allocate those funds in general. So can I have a motion to match this grant? Maria said it very effectively. So using her words, for $2,500 from the parking benefit district, with the understanding that the project itself will be defined over the next 6 weeks.
I would add in, and also approved by the Parking Benefit District Committee.
Thank you.
Is there a
So moved.
motion? Nikki moves. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I
Motion.
just have a question. Are we meeting again though, just in about another 4 weeks? So really we would know what the project is when we have another meeting, like another month before the grant is actually due. On in July 26th, isn't that our next scheduled meeting for the parking benefit district?
I was actually going to talk about that on our next slide. I will be out of town then, and I was going to cancel the July meeting.
Okay, well then never mind.
I'm sorry, Russ.
That's okay.
But
Then
I
you,
think,
then you may, all that's
you
a
know-
moot discussion. Never mind. That's okay.
Yeah, and the motion's already been approved, so there is we can call an ad hoc if for some reason it's some wild outlandish project that nobody wants to support. We can call a emergency meeting of the committee to revoke the funding if that happens. We do have a failsafe, so. I
So
think it should be fine.
when do we meet to present whatever projects? Because when is the next meeting after July 26th?
So right now, let's just go ahead and go to the next slide, Melanie. Public comments, and this was where I was going to. Are we done talking about the grants and projects? I'm sorry.
I am, unless anybody has questions.
Okay. I think, so on our meeting schedule, we have the meeting currently scheduled every month, the fourth Friday of every month at 9 a.m. I wanted to cancel the July meeting. I will be out of town that week. The next meeting would be August. And what I wanted to propose is moving forward is a reduction to quarterly meetings. We have 3 different parking benefit districts, plus we have just our regular day-to-day work and projects outside of these different parking benefit districts, and keeping up with the monthly meetings when there's not a lot for us to report back to you every month. There's a little bit, but it's very small change. So I wanted to go to quarterly meetings for all the PBDs just to kind of be able to better manage our workload over here. And that was going to be my proposal, is that I need to cancel the July meeting regardless, and then meet again in August, and starting in August, go to quarterly meetings. Now, that does not mean that we cannot have an ad hoc meeting if there is something that needs to be addressed. That also does not mean that y'all can meet outside as a subcommittee with, 2 or fewer members. You don't want to have 3 people in the same conversation, because that's going to be an open meetings. Or, we can discuss things by email, call an emergency meeting, whatever the case. But that was going to be my proposal, because we do have limited resources and we're getting stretched really thin. And it's just challenging for us to keep up with everything all at the same time with these monthly meetings.
I mean, to me, that sounds, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Russ.
I was just saying, I think that sounds good. To me, there should just be ongoing discussions between the super neighborhood and the management district about what are these kind of project
Right.
lists and that kind of thing. And then when there's a funding request, that's when we need to come back to the benefit district to say, can we fund this project or this
Right.
thing that's been discussed and defined by the neighborhood and the management district for things we want to do.
I totally agree. This advisory committee should not be dreaming up projects, should not be getting quotes, should not be dealing with vendors. Y'all are the bank, is how I
Mhm.
envision the parking benefit districts. And the entities that are already running projects should come to you. That will make you much more efficient, effective with your spending.
Because as a super neighborhood, and we have representation from all the different entities that are in our area, and then along with the work with the management district, to me, that's where the project should be defined and everything.
Right, at the subcommittee level, I agree.
Yeah.
That's where the work gets done, is at the subcommittee level, and then you just come to this committee for presentation and hopefully approval. But if Nikki can send out a couple of meeting dates.
Right.
And Kyle and Russ, would you all be willing to serve on that subcommittee?
Yes, of
Sure.
course.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And it would be open meetings, because Maury, I hear what you're saying about more than 3 people or more, but to me, having just 2 people in the room, we need more. We need more input than that. So
I guess that's where I'm saying that some of this is not necessarily the people who are on this committee, us. It's this representatives from all the super neighborhood who are more than just 2 of us to decide some of the projects, to have input from the neighborhood, that kind of a thing. I mean, we represent the super neighborhood here, but the whole super neighborhood should have a voice from whatever subcommittee from the super neighborhood, I guess, also to help define the projects with the management district.
Well, Russ, that's our quandary. We don't really have committees at the super neighborhood level. We have people that serve as in the stakeholder seats, such as yourself, Kyle, Amy, and that's where we get our representation for the super neighborhood. And, you're supposed to represent the neighborhood association. Kyle represents the park. So we can ask another person from the super neighborhood to join us. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a dual purpose, we have a dual function.
I'm just saying, as we define the parking benefit district as the funding source for some of these things, we might need to be on the committee working with the management district and everything, representing our service on the super neighborhood, not necessarily our service here on this committee, because it's other folks that have a voice in this as well.
Right.
And that's maybe different than what's these posted meetings for the benefit district. We're involved in the neighborhood as well to have some of that discussion.
Yeah. I think when we meet with the Southeast Management District and we get the meeting that Nikki's going to send out some dates for, I think that would be like a group of people that can, you have a representative from the management district who's running the projects. You have a representative from super neighborhoods. You have a representative from the PBD. They're the ones who are talking about what the projects are and preparing to come back to the advisory committee and seek funding for specific projects.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what Nikki was saying
Yeah,
originally. So
Right.
yeah, I think we're all on the same page.
yes, I think so, absolutely. So does anyone have any concerns with a reduction to quarterly meetings? I'm happy to call an emergency meeting if anyone on the committee feels like they need to discuss something. I just need, I have to give 72 hours public notice, so just bear that in mind. But a quarterly meeting, I think, will be.
No, I
I'm
think
not
that's
opposed.
from
I
my,
think it's,
Maria, that's plenty. The fourth Friday is August 23rd. So if we have to submit this by the 31st, is everybody comfortable with that timeline?
yes, if all the work is done in committee, subcommittee.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I'm fine. Anybody else?
Anybody want more meetings? Raise your hand if you want less meetings. All right, perfect. Thank you all so much. I appreciate your accommodation and generosity so we can get a little bit time back. That was my one public comment. Is there any other public comment from anyone on the committee, or Melanie, we don't have any public speakers, correct? No, I don't see any.
Correct.
Okay.
So Maria, when does the quarterly timeline start? I said that the next meeting was August, the fourth Friday in August, but that might not be what your timeline is. So
No, August. I plan to have a meeting in August and then kick off the quarterlies from there.
Okay,
Because I do want to give you the update for the fiscal year, so I didn't want to wait until the end of the first quarter because that's just too long. So we'll start in August, and it won't be exactly according to the calendar quarterly schedule, but it'll work for us.
excellent. Thank you.
We will update the calendar hold on your on all the meeting invite on all your calendars with the quarterly meetings. And other than that, Nikki, we'll look forward to receive some information from you on a meeting between the Southeast Management District, Super Neighborhood, and PBD to kind of map out future plans.
Okay, will do.
Is there anything else?
Not for me.
All right. Well, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion
Thank
is
you.
approved.
Stay cool.
Thank y'all.
All right, everybody, have a great day.
Yeah,
You too.
thank you all so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a wonderful weekend.